Cruising down game 2 under control. Having the lead, feeling themselves. Here comes Dave Roberts to the mound. Knucklehead out there almost messing it up. Despite that, the Dodgers take a 2-0 lead over the Phillies in the NLDS. Two things though. Don't have anyone besides Roki Sasaki close, and don't go back to Philly.
You are Locked On Dodgers, your daily Los Angeles Dodgers podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
It's time for Locked On Dodgers, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day, especially in days like these that have the boys in blue one win away from the NLCS. We're talking all things Game 2 against the Phillies, how we shouldn't be sweating bullets with anyone but Roki Sasaki closing games, and why this team shouldn't return to Philadelphia until next year. This and more in today's episode, which is brought to you by GameTime. Download the GameTime app. Create an account and use the code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off of your first purchase. He's Travis Rodgers. I'm Harry Ruiz, two guys who talk sports for a living and bleed Dodger blue for life. You can get more Travis on 710 ESPN LA on the radio in Los Angeles or the ESPN LA app worldwide from 3 to 6 p.m. with the Travis and DeMarco show. As for me, I'm the Spanish play-by-play broadcaster for the USC Football Trojans and the Las Vegas Raiders. But nothing beats jumping on the mic every weekday morning and diving deep into what I love most, talking Dodger baseball with you. And we want you to be a part of our show. Hit us up on the Locked On Dodgers listener line, 279-3-LOCKED or 279-356-2533. You can either leave us a voicemail or a text, and you might be featured in our show. Let's jump right into it. Another masterclass from the Dodgers starting pitching. Blake Snell, 6 scoreless innings, 1 hit allowed, 9 strikeouts, and pure dominance from start to finish. We said it last week in the wild card. We'll say it again right now. This, Travis, is why the Dodgers spent the big bucks on him.
Yeah, I don't know if this was exactly what the plan was at the beginning of the season, Harry, but my goodness, if this is what it was, what a brilliant, brilliant idea to basically keep almost your entire starting rotation, with the exception of Yoshinobu Yamamoto, on ice for most of the year, and then slowly build them up to where you get towards the back end of the season and head into the playoffs with them absolutely sizzling, because that's what Snell has done. That's what Ohtani has done. That's what these guys have been able to do in these last couple of games, where even though you have a team that has a bullpen that's really struggling, it almost becomes less of a dire situation, because you know how deep they're going to go in the game. And they're really not hittable at this point. Snell was terrific, just absolutely brilliant. Like you said, this is why they went and got him. This is why they were so careful about the way that they deployed him. And you remember, I remember being at Dodger Stadium for their home opener against the Tigers and watching them going, it didn't look great, but okay, it's early in the season. Then he throws, I think, one more inning after that game. They shut him down for months after that. And you're thinking, oh my gosh, did they buy something that's going to blow up in their face? He has been just electric since then and shut it. And I know I say this a lot on Locked On Dodgers. The everydayers knows he competes like crazy, Harry. He goes out there and just battles and battles and battles. And I love watching him pitch. And he put his team in a position to win the game, and they were able to come through. It made it a little more interesting than it needed to be. But Snell was just fantastic. And knowing that you're going to potentially have him in the NLCS and perhaps beyond that is incredibly exciting, because he's just not going to give up a ton of runs on any regular sort of basis.
Yeah, this was vintage Snell. This was the pitcher who didn't want to sign a short-term contract last year, and he ended up going with the Giants with a deal that gave him an opt-out after year 1 just to be able to get that huge deal afterwards, and it was precisely with the Dodgers. He was pounding the zone early. He was getting ahead. He was finishing off hitters with unhittable pitches. He got into the 5th inning with a no-hitter, and you could see it right away. Philly had no chance of squaring him up, and the best they could do was take walks, which, if I recall correctly, it was 4 walks that he ended up drawing, and that's how he got a couple of base runners and got a little bit into a trouble. And it was the same situation as in the wild card game. When he got just over 80 pitches, over 80 is when it started feeling like a little bit iffy and not in the best situation. But that's what we were talking about yesterday, Travis. How comfortable, or where are you going to be comfortable with the starting pitching going in this game? And we said 7 would be fantastic. If you can give us 6, we'll take it. And that's literally what happened. 6 innings. You have to take care of business before 9 with the bullpen.
Yeah, they did a pretty good job with that. It's funny. I was thinking about this. Like, there are a handful of hitters in baseball who don't mind hitting behind in the count, right? Like, I think Freddie Freeman is one of those guys. If he's 0-2, 1-2, he's still got a pretty good chance of having a successful at-bat. There aren't many of them. I think Snell might be one of those guys like that too, where he can actually pitch from behind in the count and still be in control of the at-bat. Like you saw a couple of different times yesterday where he was behind 2-1, 2-0, and still you're seeing Phillies hitters get terrible swings off against him. Usually in those counts, the hitters are ultra aggressive. They're hunting certain pitches, and Snell just did not give up cookies. He just never gave in. And another thing that the everydayers are very, familiar with me saying is how much walks drive me crazy. Snell might be the exception to the rule there too, because he is so hard to hit, because he is so difficult to square up. A walk here and there is not the same thing as it is for some other guys, because he's going to be able to win the next at bat. And it brings a level of confidence to Dave Roberts. It brings a level of confidence to Snell himself to know that even when he's behind in the count, even when he's put a base runner on, he's still in control of the inning. And it was a pleasure to watch, because there was really never a time where Snell was in the game where you felt like, they're going to get him right here. They never felt like they were getting close. Like you can feel when the Dodgers start to get a little closer and a little closer and a little closer. That was never really the feeling for the Phillies.
On the other side, we got to give credit where credit's due. Jesus Luzardo, he matched Blake Snell almost pitch for pitch for 6 innings. What a duel. And this is despite a first inning where Luzardo needed over 20 pitches to get out of it, and where it was like, man, we're going to get this guy out of the game in 4 or 5 innings, get to their bullpen quick. He got taken out of the game without even reaching 90 pitches in the 7th inning after a single from Teoscar and a double from Freddie Freeman, having runners in scoring position with no outs. The Phillies said, get him out of there. He was locked in, and I feel that was a huge mistake from the Phillies manager to take Luzardo out of the game, because he was dealing. I know that it was one more time that the Dodgers lineup was getting to see him, but we saw it in game 1. The moment you put that bullpen in, the Dodgers pounced. And the moment they put the bullpen in game 2, the Dodgers pounced again. They scored 4 runs in this inning, a fielder's choice from Kike Hernandez. You got Will Smith, clutch as ever, ripping a 2. That was monumental. That was fantastic. 2 RBI single. And then Shohei Ohtani, he gets an RBI hit as well, 4-0. Travis, 7 of the Dodgers' 9 runs this postseason have come in that exact frame in the NLDS in the 7th inning.
Yeah, they're relentless. They just grind you down and grind you down and grind you down, and eventually they are going to get to the bullpen or even one of the starting pitch. And I agree with you, Harry. Luzardo was fantastic. He was as good as you're going to see, and the Dodgers outlasted him. Like they basically just kept chipping away and chipping away. They get him out of the game. I'm with you. If I were Dave Roberts, if I were Rob Thompson, I'm gonna go with that starter a little bit longer than I am with the relief pitcher. The Phillies do have a good bullpen despite the Dodgers' success against them the first couple of games, but I think it speaks to the depth of the Dodger lineup, where you look at guys that are down in the order that are able to produce. Then you get back to the top. Ohtani gets a big hit in that one situation, so it's really clicking on all cylinders for the Dodgers right now. I know we'll talk about some of the defensive plays that they made where, these were high level do or die plays that they're pulling off, that when Sasaki comes in, he's on the highest of the high wires. He pulls it off, that you're getting the big hit and the big moment from a guy like Will Smith. It was a total team effort. And this is what we've been waiting to see from this group for months. And it's finally starting to happen, and couldn't be a better time.
Yeah, defensively, I mean, we pounced on Mookie Betts, being like, he's a good shortstop. He's not a great shortstop. He's not a Gold Glove shortstop, let's say it that way, because it's a very hard position to play, especially if you haven't grown up playing in that position when you're in little league, when you're in high school, when you're in college, and you're pretty much one of the best right fielders of this last era of baseball in Mookie Betts, multiple time Gold Glover, multiple time World Series champion, being at right field. Then out of nowhere, the Dodgers decide to put him at shortstop, and there's some situations where you're like, he's not hitting as well. He could be put out there and the production will be better just putting another shortstop in that lineup. And man, he comes through with one of the biggest plays we've seen in Dodgers postseason history in this stage in the NLDS. That wheel, man, I can't believe it happened, but the Dodgers were very smart at it right there, getting the lead runner out at third base instead of getting the free out at first. And that was a tying run right there, Travis.
It probably won in the game, quite frankly. It was the play of the game. It was a game that, or I should say, it was a play that not every high school, or I should say every major league player is going to be aware of or be capable of pulling off. And listening to Mookie talk about it in the post-game comments, I thought it was really, somebody asked him, well, where did the idea to put that play come from? And he said that he and Miguel Rojas had discussed it earlier in the season against the Angels, where, hey, this is the spot where you put a play like that on. Like you said, Harry, Mookie Betts came up as a right fielder in the major leagues, and a really, really good one. He's learning shortstop on the fly. That was the sort of a play that a guy that's been playing shortstop every day of his entire life calls, puts on, and executes it. And he was perfect. He kind of disguised it at second base. He waited to break so the guy couldn't read the bunt and shoot it through the hole. There was a bunch of different things going on there. And on top of that, Max Muncy had to crash like crazy. He had to give a good throw on the run. That's like hitting a wide receiver in the flat because he's moving across. If that timing isn't just about perfect, that ball's down the left field line. Dodgers probably lose the game. Or if it's a little late, the runner comes in safe. The Dodgers probably lose the game. Everything had to be executed perfectly. And they did it, and they did it with a shortstop who was a right fielder, and they did it with a third baseman whose defense can be questionable at times. And those two guys stepped up in a huge way to get the biggest out of the season, and it won them the game.
And we got to give a big shout out as well to Miguel Rojas, who in the sixth inning with runners in first and second, there was a ground out to third, which was the final out of Blake Snell's outing. And he runs to third and beats Trey Turner to third base, one of the fastest players in baseball. And, man, that play could have definitely changed the game right there if he doesn't get the out. Travis, you as a former baseball player, why didn't he go to first base right there and just throw the ball either the first or the second? I know it was a difficult play, but I feel that it was barely by a millisecond that the Dodgers didn't get the out right there at third and would have had the bases loaded.
My guess is, Harry, and I'm just guessing here, but I bet I'm right, is he pre-pitched that, and he decided if it's hit to my left, I'm going to second. If it's hit softly, I'm going to first. If it's hit kind of towards the bag, I'm going to third base. And it was hit kind of sort of towards the bag. And so he had made up his mind before the pitch was ever thrown, and that's where he was going. And, hey, he made it. I mean, he made it by about that much. He made it by about the string on the tip of his glove, but he got there. It was, I don't want to have a foot race against Trey Turner with anybody on our team. Maybe Ohtani, and that's about it. But they got it done. It was my guess is he decided beforehand, depending on how and where the ball was hit, where he was going to go, and he trusted himself and he got it done.
In just a bit, we're going to go into the ninth inning. But first, Emmet Sheehan, he was the man that came in out of the bullpen first. He got 2 innings where he allowed 1 run. The first inning was 1-2-3. The second inning was where Kepler got the triple. He ended up scoring. And then the Phillies ended up having Kyle Schwarber and Bryce Harper up to the plate. And there was no movement out of the bullpen with that. The bravery from Dave Robertson, from Emmet Sheehan was like, no, this is your chance. Get them out. He got them out. And man, that takes a lot because a lot of people with the matchup were like, it's better to bring somebody else in this spot where you only need to get 2 outs. Dave Roberts trusted his guy, and his trust at times has backfired. In this case, it didn't. And Emmet Sheehan, we need him to be one of those dogs out of the bullpen that can get big outs, and he did it on Monday.
It was a great bounce back from what we saw against the Reds, where he wasn't very good, and he was much better in this situation. So that was encouraging. He got some very big outs. The stuff looked like it plays big time. But I think the best part of it for me, Harry, was I think it's going to give Emmet Sheehan a ton of confidence moving forward, knowing that if they get past the Phillies, if they're playing the Brewers or the Cubs, or if they can get out of the NLCS and go back to the World Series, that Emmet Sheehan's got a little, he's got a few stripes, having gone through a high stress postseason situation, come out the other side, earn the trust of the manager, continue to get those opportunities. So not only was that a big deal for him in the moment, it's a huge deal for him, whether that's in game 3, 4, 5, or whatever happens in the NLCS if they get there.
The closer you get to Emmet Sheehan being automatic out of the bullpen, those ifs are going to become not ifs, but when the Dodgers make it to the NLCS, when they make it to the World Series. So let's keep it rolling. But this is October, and with the Dodgers, it's never that simple. As great as Blake Snell was and as clutch as the bats were late, that's not the story from Monday's game. The real headline: Dave Roberts deciding to test every Dodgers fan's blood pressure in the ninth. We'll get into it next on Locked On Dodgers.
Most people can't name all of their financial accounts or even what they're worth, whether it's 401ks, properties, or investments. And when you don't have the full picture, you can end up leaving money on the table. That's why there's Monarch Money. It's an all-in-one personal finance tool that brings your entire financial life together in one clean, easy-to-use interface on your laptop or on your phone. Monarch is built for people with busy lives, right? So if you've put off organizing your finances, Monarch is for you. Monarch does the heavy lifting for you. You can link all of your accounts in minutes, see clear data visuals, get smart categorization of your spending, and finally feel in control of your money without ever touching a spreadsheet. You can identify that you aren't saving as much as you might have thought. Monarch helps you notice an inefficient investment allocation and discover forgotten 401ks from past jobs. So do not let financial opportunity slip through the cracks. Use code LOCKEDONMLB at monarchmoney.com in your browser for half off your first year. That's 50% off your first year at monarchmoney.com with the code LOCKEDONMLB.
Don't forget to follow Locked On Dodgers not only on YouTube, but on X, Instagram, and TikTok as well. You can find Travis on social media at Travis Rodgers on X and Instagram. Meanwhile, I'm at Harry Ruiz on X, at Harry_Ruiz on Instagram, and at Harry Ruiz_ on TikTok. The real headline from Monday night's game wasn't, unfortunately, that we just beat Philly twice in Philly, but it was Dave Roberts nearly gave this one away. Bottom of the ninth, Dodgers up 4-1. You're thinking, all right, bring in Roki Sasaki, close this thing out, go up 2-0 in this series, right? Wrong. Instead, Roberts goes to Blake Snell, who has been shaky since coming back from the IL. First batter, base hit. Second batter, double. Third batter, another double. And all of a sudden, it's 4-3, nobody out. Man, Ty Run was in scoring position right there. It became a nightmare. You pulled Blake Snell, you brought in Alex Vesia, and some way, somehow, the Dodgers were able to get this win. But, Travis, there was no need at all to be in this kind of situation, especially with Dave Roberts having said, hey, we already played Roki Sasaki twice in 3 days in the regular season. Before the game, not after. Before the game, it was like, yeah, we can use him. After the game, it's like, well, we didn't want to push it. Which one is it? You ended up using Roki Sasaki until you were in a very dire situation. Dave Roberts shouldn't try to outmanage. Dave Roberts should just be like, let's go get this win. We'll figure out the next things in the following days.
All right, I'm going to give you a dealer's choice here, Harry. Do you want me to be an advocate for Dave Roberts, or do you want me to tell you what I think? Because I can do both, and I will give you both. But which one would you like first?
I want to hear what you think, and then be the advocate.
Yeah, it was insanity. It was absolute insanity. Blake Snell has not been very good all season long. I understand he is one of the reasons you have a big fat World Series ring on your finger from a year ago. I get it, and he was a huge part of that. And you don't win it without him, and he's earned your trust, and he should, and I get all of that. That was a terrible decision. Roki Sasaki, like you said, Harry, was clearly available to pitch, or else we wouldn't have seen him at the end of the game, right? This idea, well, we didn't know if we wanted to have him 2 or 3. Well, he came in the game anyway. So obviously he was in play. Let's go in there and do it. So it made no sense to me. And I guess the good part about it is that's about as high of a pressure situation as Sasaki has ever faced and will likely face for a long time. And he passed with flying colors. So good for Roki Sasaki that he bailed Dave Roberts out, because that was, and I thought he went a hit or two long. Once the first couple of guys got on, I thought, well, I guess you got to do the 3 guys. But
3 batters, yeah.
It was a really, really head-scratching situation, just knowing how bad Treinen has been, or bad might even be a step to how inconsistent he has been. He's just not stacking good outings on top of each other. So it was really, really, dumbfounding to me why he went there in the first place. So that's how I felt about it. Here's the case for why he did what he did. The Dodgers are trying to win the World Series. They're only going to win the World Series if somebody like Treinen or somebody like Tanner Scott can get some outs at some point in these games. Now, I don't know why those have to be in the 9th inning. I don't know why those have to be in such a difficult situation, but I really do think that he's going to continue to try to find success for those guys when there are opportunities that present themselves. I don't think the 9th inning of a game where you got a 3-run lead in the most hostile environment in baseball is the place to do it. But I think if I'm trying to get in his head, it's, hey, look, Sasaki's not going to be able to pitch every single game in the postseason. We're going to have somebody else get those last couple of outs, and Treinen is my next best bet. So let's try to get him back to where he belongs. And it blew up in his face. That's the only thing I can come up with.
He had 2 pitches in this game, Roki Sasaki. I know that if he had been at the beginning of the 9th inning, it would have been more. But you just go to a couple of days before. What was it? 11 pitches that he had. It wasn't like
and
he was
day too.
And an off day before that. So it was set up perfectly. You just got to throw Roki Sasaki out there. And look, I understand the Bart of Blake Treinen is a big reason why he has that World Series ring from last year. But so was Walker Buehler. So was Jack Flaherty. So was like Brent Honeywell. Did they re-sign them? No. Yeah. So it's like, okay, then it has to make sense right here. It's whatever you got to do to get those final outs out of the way, you do it. It doesn't matter. It's like, oh, I need to give this guy an energy boost. You did it with Emmet Sheehan after he already had 4 outs, after he was closer to the finish line than from the beginning of his outing or his bullpen outing. Yeah. Right there, I understand it. Here, man, you put yourself behind the 8 ball. Like, it's different if you come in needing 1 out or 2 outs to end an inning. To start an inning, you need 3 batters minimum. Then you get taken out.
Yeah, I'm with you. Had that not worked out, and by the way, you got within a spiked Tommy Edman throw of it not working out. We can talk about that in a second too. Dave Roberts is getting absolutely barbecued today, just barbecued. It was a decision that really is inexplicable. If in fact Sasaki, if you would have said, look, Sasaki's unavailable, he was the best guy, then you go, all right. That even at that point, I might have gone to Tanner Scott or somebody else. But anyway, it worked. They escaped, and hopefully he learned his lesson. Hopefully he learned that when you can kind of see one from there, you got to go do it. And just very quickly, I don't know. And look, I love Tommy Edman. Tommy Edman's a really good player, and he's a fan. I'm a big fan. I don't know if I have ever seen a better example of a guy puckering a throw in my entire, the release, it was a short arm little release. It was straight in the ground. It was too easy. There was too much time. The ball, it was just too easy of a play. And you could feel that just straight down into the dirt. And Freddie Freeman saved that game, because that is not an easy pick. It's a kind of an in-between hop from a short distance. That was a much harder play than Freddie Freeman made it look like. And I don't even want to know what we'd be talking about with Tommy Edman had that thing gotten through Freddie and the Dodgers had lost that game.
Travis, I recommend everybody go to your Instagram, go to ESPN Los Angeles Instagram. They had your reaction the moment when the final out happened, and they had to bleep you because that's how everybody felt. I was like, great, ground out to Tommy Edman. Let's go. And then I saw the throw. I was like, God, come on. Thank you, Lord, for Freddie Freeman being on our roster.
I couldn't believe it, because it wasn't just, it was It was a terrible, terrible throw on an easy play. It took a look. I'm already pretty gray. If you're watching us on YouTube, you can see how gray I am. But
look at both of us.
This was not the best moment in the world.
Yeah, no, we'll take it. We'll take it. So let's close this segment with this. Why, Dave? Why? It didn't need to be this stressful. So I'll say it right now. Roki Sasaki is our closer. Nobody else. Not Trinan, not Vesia, not anyone else. If there's a save opportunity, we need to have Roki Sasaki on the mound. That's
he's earned it. Yeah, he's earned it. He's pitched that was as hard of against a all-star caliber player with the fans rocking, with the Dodgers teetering on the brink, and he got one of the best players in baseball out on 2 pitches. It was extraordinarily ballsy.
Yeah, now let's go with this. This series should never see Philly again. The Dodgers have history on their side, momentum in their dugout, and Yamamoto ready to finish the job. Coming up on Locked On Dodgers, we'll break down the numbers, the matchups, and what it'll take to close this thing out at home. There's nothing like catching a baseball game live. The energy, the crowd, the chance to see your team in person. But actually getting tickets, that's the tough part. Queues, login screens, surprise fees, it takes all the fun out of it. That's why I use GameTime, the app that gives the advantage back to fans. GameTime is fast, easy, and backed by the GameTime guarantee. You'll always get 100% authentic tickets delivered on time and at the best price. Plus, all fees are included, so the price you see is the price you pay. The app has made it super simple. I could even see the exact view from my seat before buying. So if you want to go to Chavez Ravine to the game on Wednesday, go to GameTime. Download the app right now, create an account, and use the code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off of your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, that's promo code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off of your first purchase. Swipe, tap, ticket, go. Download GameTime today. Thanks for making us your first listen wherever you may be tuning in, either on your favorite podcast app or our YouTube channel. If you're a new viewer, subscribe. Smash that notification bell so you never miss a beat. Full episodes, hot takes, breaking Dodgers news, and the Dodgers Postcast show with Pete Fox live after the final out of every game. If it drops, you're on it. That's how you become an everydayer here on Locked On Dodgers. All right. Let's zoom out because the big picture here is huge. The Dodgers are now up 2-0 in a best of 5. Historically, 80 of 90 teams that take a 2-0 lead in this format have gone on to win the series. That's almost 90%. But it gets even better. In the divisional round era, teams that win the first 2 on the road have advanced 16 of 18 times, and 12 of those were sweeps. That's what we're looking at, folks. You've got Yoshinobu Yamamoto lined up for Game 3 at home, a rested bullpen, and a rotation that has been absolutely elite so far. Travis, get it done Wednesday or Thursday, and you've got the weekend off. NLCS doesn't start until Monday. That's 4 days to reset, reload, and line up Ohtani, Snell, and Yamamoto exactly how you want it.
Yeah, look, I'll go a step further, Harry. I don't want to get to Thursday. You know what I mean? Like, end it. They're ready to let go of the rope. The Phillies are ready to be pushed off the cliff. Push them. Like don't walk away and assume they're going to die, right? If this were a zombie movie, you need to double tap them. If this were a gangster movie, you need to make sure that the kill is taken care of because they're still really, really good. You know what I mean? Like this is not the Cincinnati Reds who, were just happy to be there. The Phillies are going to fight like crazy. This is going to be a catastrophe for them if they get swept in what is their first round of the playoffs. This is, guys are going to lose jobs. Guys are going to be released. This is going to be a seismic shift for the Phillies. So they're going to come out with everything they have. You got your best guy on the mound in Yamamoto because here's what, I always go back to this when the Red Sox finally beat the Yankees a million years ago after and got rid of that curse. It was don't let us get one because once we get one, now nothing weird needs to happen. Now we just got to go make sure that we take care of business. If they can beat Yamamoto, if they can beat the Dodgers, now all they have to do is win one game and the Phillies can beat one game against anybody. Now they're going back to Philadelphia. They've got all the momentum. The pressure's on the Dodgers. Push them off the cliff tomorrow. End the series. Yamamoto go out there and deal. Get Sasaki ready to close. Bring your best game. Push them off the cliff on Wednesday, because I do not want to go to Thursday. And I really, like you said, Harry, don't want to go to Saturday back in Philly.
And the Dodgers, they're 4-0 in the postseason so far. And here's the stat that tells the story. Snell, Yamamoto, Ohtani. 4 postseason starts this year, all with at least 6 innings and 9 strikeouts each. That's dominance. This is the rotation everybody dreamed it could be. And we haven't even seen Tyler Glasnow start a game in the postseason so far for the Dodgers. So now, don't let Philly back in this series. Don't give them a chance. Don't give them any momentum, because the only part in this series they felt good where their crowd wasn't booing them was pretty much the 9th inning on Monday night. If you give them a reason to believe, that can change the story, but don't give them a reason to do that.
You brought up another name too, Harry, that I think is important. Like, look, let's say that they get into the 6th inning and it's 1-0, but Yamamoto's pitch count is high or whatever. I'd go to Glasnow here to get to that 9th inning and try to win the game, right here. You have options in game 4. You've got Sheehan, you've got Kershaw, you've got guys that you can start there and feel pretty good about it. If the difference is bridging the 6th, 7th, and 8th, or the 7th and 8th to get to Sasaki at the end, and you got to use Glasnow as that bridge, go for it. Don't mess around. Push them off the cliff when you get a chance.
And yesterday in a YouTube short, TikTok video, Instagram reel that I posted, there were people asking, when is Kershaw going to pitch? Well, this would be the perfect situation where if you use Glasnow on Wednesday and on Thursday, use him on Thursday. Sorry, knocking on wood apparently messed up my microphone there for a second, but that's what happened.
Here's the thing with Kershaw for me, and I'm a huge Kershaw fan. The problem with Kershaw is he gives up home runs, and home runs in the postseason. If they're solo home runs, not the end of the world, but out of the bullpen, 7th, 8th inning, home runs can swing innings. They can swing games, and not that it can't happen to anybody. It certainly can happen to anybody, but the odds of getting a home run or hitting a home run off of a guy with stuff like Glasnow are far less than hitting one off of somebody like Kershaw. So I think we'll see him ultimately, but there's a very specific spot in the game where Clayton Kershaw is going to come in and do some work. And I don't think there are those crazy high leverage moments. I think you're more likely to see him in a situation where your starter does not give you 6 or 7 innings. Maybe it's 5 and you need to get through the 6th. I think that is a more Kershaw-like environment.
Let's close it out like this. Put your foot down their throat, Dodgers.
Yeah.
Just go for the jugular. Finish the job at home and finish it quick. Don't go back to Philadelphia.
Nope.
All right. That'll do it for today's episode of Locked On Dodgers. Thank you so much for making us your first listen every day. If you're still craving more baseball talk, have the all-new Locked On MLB Game Night be your second listen. Every game, every night, all season long. Get local analysis on a national scale. Find it on Locked On MLB on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts. We'll be back tomorrow, Wednesday, to preview Game 3 of the NLDS between the Dodgers and Phillies and talk about what the boys in blue can do to sweep their way into the NLCS. Hopefully, that's what happens, Travis.
Hopefully so. Push them off the cliff. Don't look back. Get rid of them. Don't let them for 1 second think, hey, you know what? We just need to get it back to Philadelphia. Don't let them even get it to Thursday.
Get them on the bus on Wednesday night back to LAX. We appreciate you riding with us. Until next time, keep it real. Keep it Dodger Blue.